What is up, everybody? It's your boy Jack OATz. You either know or you don't. So this was originally like a whole long video with several topics in it, and I'm realizing as I'm looking at statistics on my YouTube page, I'm seeing that a lot of people don't really make it through to the end of the video, and I can't blame you because my videos are like 40 minutes long a piece. So what I'm going to do is try my best to break these up into just different categories, and I got to thicken out the channel anyway. So let's get to it.
Ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. 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 I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Pull up, say what's the deal, bruh? See how I lose my cool any second if they don't hear us. Many people will fear us. Say when you look in the mirror, don't you compare us to anything, they get embarrassed. Ha, ha, woo. So many people be talking like they want the problems or something. I noticed that all of you polish and all of you people get punished. It's hard to keep food on your stomach, to all of the hustle keep running. That's hard to stay humble with nothing. We're off of the jungle, we're bugging. So let me come down all of a sudden. I told you that we keep it buzzing. Ha, woo. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out. Bounce. I ain't feeling nothing cause I'm numbed out.
Alright, so a lot of stuff has happened since the last time we were, here at the channel talking about Black Clover. The last thing that happened in this chapter was we found out that Tetsuya had twins. Unfortunately, that's not what we're going to talk about this video. In this video, we're going to talk about Nacht and what we need to be looking out for. Now, something that the anime community is notorious for is anytime a new character gets introduced, we are head over heels in love with them. And yes, Nacht's design is amazing. The way he carries himself is really interesting. However, that does not mean we can just automatically up and stan this guy. See, he hasn't really done anything to make us trust him. In fact, he's done a lot more to make us not trust him. But his role is very interesting for sure, because I'm not saying there are not reasons to actually trust him, because there's actually a very huge reason to trust him. But there's also an element of untrustworthiness that goes along with this. So let's talk about the capacity that he works in the Clover Kingdom. He is a spy for the Clover Kingdom, spying on the Spade. Now, we have to delve into the word spy. What is a spy? Usually your spy is probably going to be the most trustworthy person that you have on your team. Now, with this, they have to have traits of untrustability in order to be a successful spy. Now, this is what is worrying, and that it really concerns me. Just the amount of freedom that Nacht has, and the way he carries himself. I don't know if I can actually full-on trust that Nacht doesn't have his own agenda. Now, yes, he is giving all of this information to the Clover Kingdom. He is ready to set up a whole OATz task force and take down the Triad. But it's the way he's phrasing a lot of this stuff and actually what he's doing, it just doesn't feel right to me. So if we look at Jack, he's realizing like, oh wait, I definitely know who this kid is. He was in the Aqua Deer, and it showed a flashback panel of Nacht standing next to Yami, and Nacht is smiling, that Nacht smile, while Yami is kind of looking at him like he's very suspicious almost. Like, what is this kid's problem? I almost disgusted. I don't know. But that facial expression wasn't your natural Yami look. Yami is completely trustworthy, or not. Yes, he's trustworthy. That's not what I meant to say. But I mean, he pretty much regards everyone as a comrade, and he trusts them until they shouldn't be trusted. And that's why this specific panel bothered me. Is just that Yami doesn't give off that feel of camaraderie towards Nacht, and I'm forced to wonder why. Now, Nacht says a lot of things. He says things about people he doesn't like, and there are people that he does like, and he likes trustworthy people. And that's awesome. Like, who doesn't like trustworthy people? But then it's like, he also said he doesn't like Yami. And that's where things kind of get weird. So there's something off about this relationship between both Yami and Nacht. And I think it's come down to one of them is not as trustworthy as they come off to be. I do have this theory on Yami actually not being, I don't want to say trustworthy because I stand this dude. And it's really hard for me to say this, but it is totally possible that Yami has his own agenda, and it might not be his entire fault. Now, I wasn't really planning on going this direction in this video, but I guess I kind of have to when talking about Nacht and why it's possible that Yami sent Nacht away, pretty much, and made him go spy on the Spade. And it's not just because he's a good mage. It's not maybe the fact that Yami really trusts him. It's probably the fact that Nacht has no filter. See, Nacht is not one that really hides his feelings about somebody. Now, he might be able to hide information, but the way he feels about people, it seems like, well, it's just out in the open. He straight up just says, like, you know, I don't like people like you. You're okay. Screw you. You're cool. Like, this dude's just going off on everybody every time he gets a chance. So, I mean, and if we look at the way, the one thing that we saw from him in the Spade as far as him being a spy, he's not really interacting with, you know, the Spade mages. So, it really could be the fact that he's in there in the shadows, literally, not really talking to people, but just listening and actually invading their space and taking their plans and all that stuff. So, I do have reason to believe that Nacht just has a huge mouth and does nothing but tell the truth, because that's a part of his personality. So I feel like Yami might have sent him away because Yami might have an agenda of his own. And the reason why I say it's not completely his fault, if we go back like towards maybe some of my first videos, I do talk a lot about how Yami, there's potential for Yami to be a Jotun. And this was back when I first started this channel, pretty much. And it was directly from Broku. I was like, wait, that makes a lot of sense. But to briefly go over it, if we look at physical characteristics to his magic and how he got to the Clover Kingdom, it makes sense that Yami might not be fully human. And considering that this entire series is based almost solely off of Norse lore, it kind of adds up. Now, the way he gets to the Clover Kingdom is that he got lost at sea. He was fishing. And this is something that Jotun or giants would do in Norse lore, is that they would send their young out fishing. This was their rite of passage. This is how they became young men, maybe women, but from what I read, it was just really men that they refer to. This is how they breached into adulthood, if you will. So Yami gets lost at sea, and he's already kind of out of place. His magic is completely unheard of. No one's, till this day, we still haven't seen dark magic. The closest we've seen to dark magic is probably anti-magic, which is really nothing like it, but they do have, no, I won't even go there. But, I mean, that's really the closest to dark magic that we've seen so far. And I think there's a reason for this. Now, if you look more into the lore, Jotun doubles up as a devil in Norse mythology. It really depends on the intent. It's not so much that they look a certain way. And not all Jotuns are actually giants. A lot of them are just human size. If I'm not getting my entities mixed up, I believe Odin falls under Jotun. And he was your average size guy almost. Probably a little bit bigger, but not like 20 feet tall for sure. Not 30 or 50. He's not towering over buildings. But But if we also look at Yami, he is larger than your average guy. Maybe not in height per se, but if we look at muscles and what they say about muscles in this series, they say that Asta looks disgusting. I believe it was Kirsch who said that to Asta. He was like, muscles are gross, and in the world of magic, that has no place. So for Yami to develop all these muscles, it seems like his natural body type. Not that we really need it. I mean, we just haven't seen Yami train like Asta did to get those muscles, which leads me to believe it's probably more natural than not. Of course, in this time skip, he probably did train his body to get more jacked, because the dude's freaking ripped now. Not that he wasn't before, but he's way more ripped. But it's just interesting how everything's set up. Now, if you go even further into Norse lore about Jotun, they live in this land of ice and snow, which is really interesting, especially when you come to like the Spade Kingdom and you see Dante talking to this giant, what looks like ice crystal, with Lucifero inside of it, and Lucifero is obviously giant. Now, if we go back to what I just said, that in lore, giants, Jotun, double up as both devil and just a separate entity as just a giant. So if this is really the case, it's possible that Lucifero even falls under this Jotun status. Now, on top of that, they live in a lot of trees, like forest setting. And it's funny because when you look at the Black Bull's hideout, everywhere it's been, it's in the middle of like a forest. And I think that's interesting in and of itself. And on top of that, in lore, they also talk about how Jotuns love to fight all the time. They love the atmosphere of having fights around them, being in fights. And if you look at the Black Bull's headquarters, it was the first time we walked into it, Luck was fighting Magnet. It was just in complete chaos. But everyone was just kind of at home. I'm not saying everyone there is a Jotun, but this is definitely Yami's headquarters. It's the way he runs things. It's his presence there. So all that put together, it just seems to me that it only makes sense that he's possibly a Jotun. Now, I went into this whole Jotun spiel for a reason. And this goes back to his agenda. Now, there is a part of Norse lore where you might have like Hades. There's other parallel names to it. Sometimes it fleshes over into different lore, but it all comes back to around the same thing. Hades has pet Cerberus. Now, I've also said this in previous videos, how Yami also has a pet Cerberus, and this was in the anime, and it was just like, it was a really fun portion of the anime, but I don't think it was supposed to be overlooked. It's kind of strange that he's collected all these mystical beasts that are just magical beasts. I shouldn't say mystical, but just magical beasts. And his power is over darkness, which would fall in line with that parallel of mythology of Hades. And all of that's well and good, but if we also take a good look at this Dante versus Yami fight, as soon as Dante arrives, almost, he gets encountered by Gauche. He kind of wipes him away. And then he encounters Asta, then effectively kills him, but gets saved by Rouge. Now, what's interesting is that Dante takes an immediate interest in her because she's arcane. And then he finds out that Gray is there as well, and he's even more intrigued. He's asking himself how Yami finds all these arcane mages, like they're attracted to him. But if we look into the history of how a lot of those Black Bulls got there, Yami went and found them. Yami went into the forest to find Vanessa. It's just too coincidental that you have all of these mages that have these very special powers. If they're not arcane, they have very, very special powers. Something else that's interesting is the fact that Charmy is there, and she does fit into this whole conspiracy that I have for Yami's agenda. Now, you guys already know how I feel about Charmy and how I do, in fact, believe that she is Fenrir, who is supposed to be Fenrir's guardian. And Fenrir is the catalyst to Ragnarok, the whole fallout. And the fact that his parallel could, in fact, be Hades from the lore, to get a hold of Fenrir and then one of the Sisters of Fate, possibly two with Grey, it just seems too coincidental. And then you have someone like Luck, whose parallel in Norse lore would be Odin. He would be a Jotun in this, and it's just very, very particular how he got a hold of all these very key people with this, again, very special magic. Not necessarily arcane magic, but very special mages with very special magic. And like Dante said, it's like they were attracted to him. And let's just say arcane mages are attracted to each other in some, like, through some force. William is also arcane. I mean, his squad isn't full of arcane mages, though. It's, you know, maybe, yes, they're in the Clover Kingdom. Maybe that's just it. Could be, but I doubt it. It just seems so purposeful that they're in the Black Bulls. Just the broken ones, we'll say. But here's the conspiracy. I've rambled long enough. The conspiracy I have is that we don't hear anything from Yami about his homeland other than the fact that they were taught how to use ki, and that his sword was made in his homeland. He said nothing else. And this could be for, I would say, one of two reasons in my head. One reason is that he's intentionally hiding it because he does have an agenda, or two, he doesn't remember. And if it's the fact that he doesn't remember, I would say then we have to put Julius and Marx and possibly Damnatio into play. And the reason I say Damnatio, you can probably guess why I say Marx and Julius. But the reason I say Damnatio is if you look up his name just on Google, it's a Greek word and it really means to forget history. And this was a huge deal back when this word was first invented, was that history was literally getting erased so that people wouldn't know the heritages and of certain people doing certain things and not getting credit for it. It was a really big deal. And so the fact that Damnatio shows up and him and Julius are quite close, which means, you know, Marx and him probably have some type of relationship, being that Marx is Julius's right-hand man. It just seems too odd. And what's even more odd is that we don't have any origin on who Charmy is, why she is, nothing. We have absolutely nothing. And she obviously plays a very vital role, being that if that wolf is in fact Fenrir, she holds the secret to, not the secret, but she holds the key to the fallout of the world as they know it. So it could be that Julius and Marx wiped their memories and kept them close, because what do? You keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Now, we know Julius isn't like this bad guy, but there are character archetypes where they're so good that they want to make sure that things stay the way they are, if not get better. And they might do some things that are questionable in nature. And I think Julius might come to that character development type. I think we'll end up seeing that Yami's probably still following this agenda that could have been given to him by nature. I personally, this is what I think. I think that Yami was sent by Jotun from his homeland to go find these other mages, go find Fenrir, and one of the Sisters of Fate, so that because if you have the Sisters of Fate, you have everything. You control literally everything, which is why I do believe the Witch Queen was hoarding Vanessa, and I think she was looking for the other sisters. Because, like I said, if you do that, you own the laws of everything, because they existed outside of life and death. They made those choices, who lived, who died, and for how long they lived, and all that. Those are important characters, and Yami seems to have 2 out of 3 of them. So, to have all these key components, and to come from a land, have this specific type of magic, a specific body type, and not ever talk about any of that, it just blows my mind how like this isn't really being talked about more. Am I saying my conspiracy is absolutely right? No way. There's probably even more to this story. But do I think that there's more to Yami than meets the eye? Absolutely. I think he is collecting these arcane mages for a reason. That reason is unknown to me because I'm reading the same thing you guys are reading. But I thought I wanted to bring that out. I know I got into this whole spiel. But to circle back to Nacht, I think Nacht for some reason knows what Yami's agenda is and who he is. And maybe Nacht somehow reminded him of his heritage if his memory was in fact wiped. And Yami has been carrying out this agenda ever since, but sent Nacht away so that the information wouldn't get leaked in the Clover Kingdom or anything like that. Crazy, I know. That's why I have the hashtag Jack Crackhead Jack theories, not Jack Crack, whatever. But now you guys know where my head's at. It's just crazy all over the place. I said I was going to keep this video short, and I didn't. And I'm sorry, but this video, I hope you watched all the way through. Thank you guys for rocking with me. But I also want to say follow me on Twitter, not just because I want the follows, but I am starting to put exclusive content out on Twitter. I put my first one out last week. So if you've been on Twitter, you kind of got the first scoop on what these other videos are going to be. What these are going to be are just more fleshed out. So follow me on Twitter so you get those, or don't follow me. It doesn't really matter what you guys do. You guys know my stance. Do what you want to do, whatever makes you happy, whatever. But Black Clover's going off. We got to talk about how your boy is spitting because Tetia had twins, and you know your boy's been he's been talking about twins for like the past 2 months or something. Anyway, it's been Jackos the Goat. I appreciate you guys. Tune into the next video. It's going to be really important. You either know or you don't.